You're listening to Two Mics and a Guest, a podcast of people's stories and the career pathway that led them to where they are. And now your hosts, Michael Holliday and Mike Young. Welcome, everybody, to two mics and a guest. Oh, my gosh. What a struggle today. Two mics and a guest. Getting tongue-tied early, which makes perfect sense. I am Michael Holliday, and joined with me is Mr.
Mike Young.
I was going to let you say your own name because I didn't want to mess that up.
Well, you might. I mean, you're still flying high from the football game.
I am. I'm still on a little bit of a mental fog of what just happened this past weekend. So in case you're listening, this is recorded a few days after Tullahoma High School wins their first ever state title in football. And what a weekend we had.
Well, and I will say he's being modest as well. He was our kicking coach for this state championship team, and our kicker won Mr. Football Kicker of the Year for state of Tennessee. So congrats to you.
Appreciate it. We were in Nashville yesterday, and it was a really cool luncheon ceremony that they had for Justice and all the other athletes that were there.
And the kid is Justice Chadwick. He actually was doing the kicking.
Really hardworking, great kid. Got a bright future ahead of him, and I couldn't be any more proud of him and his family and the whole hard work that goes into all the time you put into that. So anyways.
Big day for you.
Appreciate it. Maybe that's why I'm a little tongue-tied, because my head is still a little discombobulated from what all just happened. So, Mike, our guest today is someone that that I'm pretty good friends with, and is a relative of our boss.
That's right, brother-in-law to the boss.
That is correct.
We still haven't figured out why he calls you Little Greg, but Greg Madsen, he's maintenance supervisor at Great Lakes Cheese Plant here in Manchester in Coffee County.
Correct.
Big plant.
It is a large plant. Yes.
I did a little bit of research. 330,000 square feet is what they have on the website.
That is correct.
And it's a conversion plant.
Yes, we are a process plant. We do not make cheese. We process it. Okay. We bring it in large blocks, 40 pounds and 680-pound blocks.
Whoa.
And we process it down into your bars, your slices, and your shreds.
680-pound block of cheese.
Any curds?
I kind of want to see that.
That's a large block of cheese.
No cheese curds?
No cheese curds.
Because, I mean, you and I have a good connection to Wisconsin, and we're both Wisconsin people. So, but good old cheese curd.
Yeah, you're not getting cheese curds down here. Nope.
We'll keep those in Wisconsin.
I don't even know what a curd is. I mean, I like them, but I don't know the name. I'm just kind of now. Look, I was on the FFA was cool at my high school, the Future Farmers of America, and I wore my blue denim jacket with the patches all over it, and I was a award-winning dairy product judging cheese judger in high school. Just want you to know that.
Well, come on down. We'll put you through a taste test.
I didn't know Louisiana was known for their cheese.
We're not, but we do like it.
That's true.
I will say that
you weren't a beignet taste tester.
I can do that too.
Okay.
Give me something to taste. Now the joke at my house, somebody had made mac and cheese for one of the family gatherings, and my mom said, I think it has too much cheese. She was worried about it. And my quote, it's going into family lore, you can't have too much cheese. Yeah. I mean, it's just.
Unless
you can't.
Unless you're lactose intolerant, then you can have
then you can't have too much cheese.
I guess yes, you can. We're not going to worry about that. Yeah. Anyway, great to have you. I know we're trying to riffing on things.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.
I know you guys have been friends for a long time.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Kind of grew up here in Tullahoma.
Mutual friends.
In the area?
Yep, born and raised here. Been here my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So graduate of Tullahoma High School?
Graduated at Tullahoma High School in 2001.
Oh, nice.
So
now, right there around the Y2K debacle that never happened. But
nope, never happened. A lot of scare, nothing happened.
Yep.
Now, did you play in sports or something in high school?
I played football for a couple of years. Football. I ended up getting an injury, hurt my back. Doctor said if I had this injury again, I could have back surgery. And I was 17, 18 years old. And against my what I wanted to do, the better judgment, I followed it and stepped away from football, which, I love playing football. And
but the long term is.
Long term,
you don't want to risk it.
Yeah, I did not want to risk it. And like y'all said, this weekend, wow.
Yeah.
I went to that game,
nice.
That's a huge accomplishment. And I just want to congratulate all those young men.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
John Olive and his coaching staff, huge amount of respect for all of them.
That man's the greatest.
He is.
I was so happy for him. I know the moments right at the very end of the game, I was happy for the boys and I was a little excited, but I looked over at John and he was tearing up and I was like, man, that man,
he deserves
couldn't
it.
be more deserving.
John Olive deserved that win along with those young men. That's a lot of hard work and dedication they put in this year.
And I want to thank you because if you were in attendance, you were some of the loudest fans I've ever been around. Like even at college or pro games. Like
I'm just saying, I was not
for
able
the amount
to be
that were
there.
there. It was
I was not able to be there, but I watched it on TV, and it sounded like a full college game. Like the band was kicking, the crowd was great.
One of our coaches is a former graduate of UTC, and he said, "Man, I don't remember our games being this full." And he said it was the best experience, especially for him, being the best experience coming home and being on the sideline for that. It was cool.
I think it's interesting, having played. It obviously was. You're part of that program, right? I mean, you played there. It's part of our team.
Well, even if you're a student, I mean, it's still your program, it's still your team. Like if you didn't play football and you're just a graduate of Tullahoma High School,
right.
It's just so cool. And we were going to a game last night, and I won't say where, but one of our neighboring schools, and I was like looking, and I was genuinely asking. I wasn't, trying to be mean, but I'm like, does this school in their history have a gold ball in a state championship game? And they didn't. And I was like thinking about all the other schools around us. And it's really cool that like all of these rival teams that play us locally, we might be one of the only ones that have one for football.
Yep.
So it was pretty cool, and it's exciting for the whole town. And we as coaching staff just want to thank everyone for rallying around our boys, and it was really cool.
Yeah, and Elizabethton, that is no slouch.
No
That's
slouch.
right.
That is no slouch of the team.
Two-time defending champions. They were back-to-back. They were going to three-peat if they beat us.
Yep, they've got a great program up there. So
yep. Sean Witten, their head coach, is a fantastic coach.
Yep.
And obviously, his brother's famous for being Jason Witten for Tennessee Vol and longtime Dallas Cowboy. And he was actually there on the sidelines, and seeing him, how massive of a human he is in person, you're just like, no wonder he was a tough tight end to tackle. But that hats off to Elizabethton or Betsy, as they're better known. And they had some big boys. They had some speed.
It was a great high school football game. I mean, you don't see many high school football games that are, that level of execution, the whole thing. I mean, the score wasn't that 7-7 in the regulation.
Yeah. If you like scoring, it wasn't exciting, but if you're a fan of defense.
My point from where I was looking, it still was exciting because it wasn't like the offenses weren't doing anything. They were moving. It was just good, well-played football. So anyway, we're doing a football podcast. We could do that sometime, but that's good.
It's all right. It's fun to get off topic sometimes.
A little bit.
We only win a football championship every 100 years, so I think it's probably time for us to do that.
I know next year. I think we rounded. I think next year is the 100th year of football. I think we started in 22.
It sounds better if we say
it. We rounded.
So, Greg, grew up here, high school here. What were your plans at high school? What were you looking to do?
So, in high school, I guess like everybody else, didn't know what I wanted to do. When I was in high school, the big push was to go college.
Yep.
That seemed to be the focus. Hey, college prep. If you were tech prep, I guess you were kind of viewed as, maybe not the most intelligent. That was kind of something you almost didn't want to be associated with. And I had a lot of friends that were in tech prep and a lot of friends that were college prep. But the push then when I was in high school was college prep. Sure. So I had a lot of smart friends. Everybody's going to college. I want to go to college with my friends. Well, let's go college prep.
That's kind of the assumption sometimes. And we assume college. A lot of times people assume college after high school and don't realize that we could look at some other options, I think, sometimes.
Tech schools, trade schools, there's tons out there now. But
so I went to college prep. I attended.
What did you major in? Remember?
I don't think I even had a major. I know my direction was marketing, advertising, and accounting.
Uh-huh.
I actually attended UAH in high school. So
Chargers.
Yep.
Nice.
Had a fun time for about 3 months. And then I decided, I went to college. I was like, this is not for me. Not right now. So after 3 months, I left college with the full intention of going back. I just needed a break. I just graduated high school. I put a lot of effort into getting where I was. Just give me a timeout.
Yeah.
Just give me a second.
That's when life's hitting you the hardest, it feels like.
I'm 19 years old at that point. And I'm just like, timeout. please. I'm 19 years old, and you're expecting me to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
We've talked about that before. It's like, all right, this whole journey of your life has been, all right, you're going to go do this, and here's what you're going to do. And then you hit that age where it's like, all right, now what are you choosing to do? And then you're like, this is overwhelming. Like,
because the whole time leading up to graduation, your guidance counselor was like, and she was a great guidance counselor, Frida Lusk, great.
Yep.
And she's like, you need to decide, everybody's like, you need to decide what direction, what path, what do you want to do? I'm like,
I don't
know. Why do I need to know this now? Give me some time, please. But
that's kind of how it was. That's kind of how it was back then.
We joked about it. They had a major blank that said major on my application. I put engineering down. My dad was an engineer. My brother was an engineer. I'm like, all right, I'll do engineering. Man, it kicked my butt, man. And that's one of the reasons I flunked out was because I didn't have the foresight to even see what you just said is hidden for me. I just said, all right. So I just played around too much and didn't go to class because I wasn't interested in it. Wasn't who I was, but I just kind of powered through because I didn't know there was an option to sit down.
And, like for me, I enjoyed all the marketing classes. I was good at accounting, so I was like, I'm good at this. I enjoy this. But that's the path I'm taking.
But there's so much difference between what you're good at and what you really genuinely enjoy too.
Right, and
sometimes they can align.
To be completely honest with you, if I would have taken Latin in high school instead of Spanish, I would have probably went to college in Florida to be a marine biologist.
Really?
Wow.
That's really what my passion and what I really wanted to do. And then the guidance counselor was like, "Oh, you're going to have to take Latin." And I'm like, I'm not doing another foreign language. No, thank you.
The dead language? Yeah, let me go learn this.
So, my wife that, to be honest, if I had taken Latin, that would probably have changed a lot of stuff for me. Sure. Where I'm at now, no regrets.
Did that step back away from college help you in the moment? I don't know now, probably looking back it did, but in that moment, did that help you?
Yes. Looking back, it did. In the moment, I think I got a relief. I'm like, I don't have pressure now. Yep. I know I've got a job. I had a job before I went to college. I transferred. I worked when I was in college. I'm going to transfer when I go back home. I've still got a job. I can do this. I've got a living, but I'm going to take some time because my full intent was to go back.
Sure.
Give me a year. Let me figure some stuff out. Let's go back to college after that and continue on from there. But I didn't, and so life took a different path than I expected.
So how'd you make that pivot? Like you plan to go back to college again? That's the narrative everybody kind of expects. We're going to do it. You took that time off. How'd you make the pivot?
I guess it'd been a couple of years after I left college. I'm like, all right, I'm 20 years old, 21. I'm like, it's time for me to decide.
Where were you working?
I was at Lowe's.
Okay,
I'd been at Lowe's for several years at that point.
It's kind of similar to my path was Motlow here in Tullahoma. Wasn't the best student, lost some academic scholarship, and then I started working at Lowe's for a couple of years. And then, eventually started doing some work in Nashville and did some photography and videography work, and that kind of took me, in that direction a little bit. But, similar, like just got to pay the bills in the meantime.
Pay the bills. And I really liked working at Lowe's. It was a great job.
It was.
I loved everybody there.
It was a fun gig. You really do enjoy, like, the people that you work with, and sometimes the customers aren't always the most fun, but it is fun. And
I'm sure I was fun for y'all, though.
Sure. But I remember, we were talking about this on a previous episode. I learned a ton from Lowe's because you're around building supplies. And so, like, if I ever had to build a house or something like that, I don't probably know how to do, like, the actual, like, framing of a house and the building. But I know about, like, electrical outlet boxes, and I know about, like, lighting instruments or lighting decor and stuff like that. Like, you learn because through selling it a good amount. So I feel like that was a good life skill I took away. Not only do you learn how to deal with the public and retail, but I learned a lot about home improvement.
So you were at Lowe's for a couple of years, you said?
Yep. Several. From time I was 18, and I even worked there while I was going to school, when I went back to school. So we can get into that, too, if you want to.
I'd like to.
So, a couple years out of college, it's time to decide, am I going back? Didn't really feel like I wanted to go back. I wanted to do something else. Several of the people I worked with actually went to Shelbyville Vocational School, and they were in industrial maintenance. And my grandfather, who I spent a lot of time with, he was an electrician at AEDC. So he was in the IBEW. It's like, it doesn't sound like a bad gig.
Right.
I know he's made good money. All these other people who've gone through industrial maintenance have made decent money. They've got a good living. Like, let's go check it out.
Sure.
At that time, vocational school was even cheaper than it is now. And it wasn't really hard to get into. So I was 2 years after college. I'm like, let's try it out. And I went into industrial electricity. And I went into that class knowing absolutely nothing about electricity except that one of these wires is probably going to shock me. And
nothing about AC, DC, nothing.
I knew none of the AC, DC theory. None of that.
Wow.
I couldn't wire anything up, save my life. So I was about as green as you're going to get going into that class. And I went nights, so I had 4 years of vocational school.
On the front end, when you're going in, like I think a lot of folks might say, I don't know anything about that, so I'm not going to look at that at all. You know what I'm saying? And so what was it that helped you say, I know you got this background, some folks that were in it, obviously, in applying for the school and going in there, what helped you make that?
I think my drive to do it. At that point, I've got to do something, and I was like,
"This is what I want to do."
I think this might be what I want to do, and I didn't know. I was scared to death. I walked into the class, and there's people in there that are already doing industrial maintenance or wiring houses. I'm in this class with them.
Wow!
And what really helped me out was when I got to that class, I had a couple of people that I graduated with that were in that class as well. So I had some friends from high school that were there, and that was probably the biggest thing that eased my mind at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm sure too, you've got the green guys learning everything. You got the guys that we know how to do it, but they're getting their certifications or whatever they want to do and go get through. It's good to have those real world guys with some experience to work alongside too, right? I mean, you learn some things with them
because the guys with the real world experience, you can learn a lot from them because you'll learn everything you need to know in class. They're going to teach you what you need to know, and you're going to know enough to be dangerous. That's really what I'm going to say. And you're going to be confident because you're just out of school.
Right.
You're young, you're eager to go learn it. Now these guys that have been there, they'll teach you a lot. There's a lot to be said for experience in this field.
Sure.
A bunch, and it's going to let you know what questions you need to ask and what you're really looking for and what you need to get out of those classes.
Now you said 4 years. What was the process?
So the first couple years or first couple months really were just learning theory, getting the basics in, which there's a lot of that. And then you started.
It's probably not the fun part of it.
No, it's pretty slow.
Yeah.
That's the boring part. Then we get into, wiring, schematics. We got into PLCs and programming, which was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. And then from there, it just kind of expands. You kind of start looking at motors, VFDs, AC, DC drives, all sorts of stuff. And then the last year I was there, so all that took about 3 years. Okay. So the last year I was there, I co-opted out. I actually got a job in Madison, Tennessee, so just north of Nashville, working for a company with CNC tubing vendors.
Now, for some that may not understand, tell them what a co-oping out specifically is. I know you got a job.
You have to have a job in that field. So I was industrial electricity.
Right.
I needed a job that was industrial.
That's part of the program.
That's part of the program.
Gotcha.
So I couldn't be like, oh, hey, I work at Lowe's in the electrical department. I can't co-op out that way. I need to be in that field.
Does the school help you with that, or did you seek this company out yourself?
At that point, I sought this company out myself. So I think the school actually has service that can help you find a place to go or co-op out. But at that point, I
saw a job opening.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So what was that job? What were you doing there the first gig out?
That company was called Cambridge Machinery. They sold and serviced CNC tubing benders.
Okay.
So, I'm out of school. I don't know anything about CNC. We haven't learned that. All I know is how to wire some stuff up and read some schematics. Like I said, I was 23, 24 when I'm co-oping out. I love that job. I was a service technician there, so it wasn't really maintenance. I was traveling a lot.
I was about to say, were you still down here and traveling to that position, or did you live up there?
Yes, I lived here in Tullahoma. I drove 99 miles one way to work, and then 99 miles back home the evening.
Man,
but like
was
that,
8-hour shifts, or was it
8-hour shifts? But at that job, I could go in that morning. They come to me while I'm working on something, be like, "Hey, get your stuff. you're going to Mississippi. Oh, when am I going? Right now.
Wow.
So they would hand me some parts. Hey, hop in your car, get going. So I spent probably 3 weeks out of the month on the road while I was with that company. I stayed there for about a year. And I was like, I'm tired of traveling. It's time to find something closer to home. But after that, I got a job at Wisco Envelope. So my dad had been at Wisco for a long time. He actually probably helped with that process. He's like, hey, we've got an opening. Talk to the plant manager. He knows your background. Come try it out. I'm like, this is great. This is 2 minutes from my house. So,
if that.
Yeah, if that. It is literally a mile. So that was a much, really looking forward to that. That was a great improvement. But that job was absolutely fantastic for what I'm doing now. That was a lot of, I hate to say old equipment, but it is. Right. It's not up to date.
I've been in that because we've got a mutual friend who still works there, and I've been in that plant, and it's big machinery, but it doesn't look like the newest, highest tech equipment.
It is not.
It's that stuff that's like, if it's not broke, we're still
not broke. You're not going to fix it probably because you can't find the parts.
Correct, but this is like what Rosie the Riveter was probably working with back in the World War days. But
it still does what it's supposed to do.
That is correct. And going in there and seeing these giant things of paper and how much they weigh, and then how it's going to get cut and then folded and glued and made into these envelopes was really impressive when I went.
So if for all y'all that are wondering, yes, Wisco Envelope is a paper conversion plant where they produce envelopes. They make them, and they have a large print shop there.
Yep.
So you said we have a common friend there. My wife is also still employed there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's where I met Lisa.
Oh, really?
And she is still there.
Nice.
Loving every day of it.
Well, it's interesting around here. Coming from South Louisiana, we were heavy oil field, so you had the big companies. You had all the companies that revolved around that. Moving up here, I was amazed at. I mean, really, y'all may take it for granted, but the manufacturing of all sorts that's going on around here, packaging, manufacturing, obviously with the auto industry with Nissan and others that have moved in, it was amazing to me the diversity of these plants that I didn't know where any of this stuff was made. I mean, we bought it down there, right?
Plants and factories are the backbone of a community. Like, there's times where we talk about as football coaches how great it would be if more industry and more factories were in our area, because it would bring so many more families to this area, and then you get more enrollment numbers, and the community could grow, in a positive way. But it's just sometimes you see these plants closing down, and it's pretty tough. But yeah, factories and plants are so key to an area.
Well, and it sounds like the program you were in provided a pretty diverse. We've talked about this just about every episode of one of the career sites that we look at talks about a person's agility. A lot of times we think about that in athletic type terms, but we're talking about your employment agility, basically the skills that you're able to develop that can be used in other fields and move around a little bit. Two diverse, your first two jobs, two diverse industries, but you're doing similar work, right?
Yeah, it's very similar. And like I said, I went to school, industrial electricity, focus on electrical. Now, through the jobs I've had at Wisco and the job I have now, I mean, I'm good at electrical. I'm decent at welding. I can machine.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a jack of all trades, but I'm master of none. So, but well-rounded. And that's really so I'm now what you would call a maintenance tech.
Okay.
Well, technically now I'm a supervisor. I've been that for a year.
Okay.
So, but I was a maintenance tech, leading up to this. And if you go this field, a vocational field, you're going to require more skills the longer you're in it. It's just part of it. And you can do that on your own. And oftentimes a lot of the companies that you're going to be employed with or seek employment with, they're going to offer this.
Yeah.
Like my company now, I've been sent to robotics training. I've been sent through PLC programming, again, as a refresher. I've been through machining classes, welding,
Wow.
They're going to offer these because it just increases your value as an employee for them, and you always need to focus on improving yourself because school is going to give you the tools and the direction to get you out there, but you're going to need to develop yourself. And the more you're developed, the more desirable you are. The more desirable you are, the more money you're going to make in the long run, and the better job you're going to end up having. And right now, I love where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know, being a supervisor is still a new thing. I'm not real sure how I am about that, because now I'm working with people instead of machines,
Right.
and that's a whole
different
thing.
You can't rewire them. Really.
No, you can't rewire people. I really wish some of them you could, but you can't. But I'm learning a whole new set of skills.
Yep.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
And all of those are transferable when you start looking at these kind of things. And
Right.
It's interesting too, and I think it's important. You've already talked about it, obviously, but a lot of times we think, okay, I got my degree, I'm good. But it's a continual learning process, like you said, and there's continual certifications, and again, more value for your company. It's easier to keep a good employee and improve them than it is to rehire and retrain, right? I mean, you want that.
I mean, it's what they're focused on. They're going to put some emphasis in you. They're going to focus on you and developing you. Because, I mean, if somebody's offering me all this and I'm learning, I'm probably going to stay there.
Yeah.
But I'm also bettering myself,
That's
too.
right.
So if something happens, like if that place was to close or I needed to seek a different employment because I moved or something, you're just benefiting yourself as well.
Sure. I know different plants and different, manufacturing companies could be different, but what would a day look like for an industrial maintenance tech person look like? Do you have a ticketing system if a machine goes down? Like, are you just trying to make sure things are super efficient? Are you repair, or preventative maintenance? Like, what all does that include?
All that.
Yeah.
So, like, a normal day for when I was at tech, you get to work, start your shift. The operator of the machine, if they have an issue, they call out for maintenance on a radio, or the supervisor, the production supervisor will. You answer that call, you go to the machine,
Start troubleshooting.
Diagnose.
Hey, what's wrong? What's going on? And they're like, say this isn't working. Well, now you got to start troubleshooting.
Yep.
So it could be pneumatic, it could be electrical. I mean, it could be a mechanical failure.
Or a cleaning pro issue.
It could,
Make sure
and that's a lot.
cleaned.
A lot of it, if the machine's not cleaned and sanitized properly, that does cause an issue with some stuff. And a lot of it too could be an operator error.
Mm-hmm.
They've done something wrong. So you will learn a lot about the machinery, how they operate, the function of them. And the more you learn, the better off you are.
Yep.
Now, you said you moved into robotics and other kind of things like that. I mean, that sounds complicated to me.
Okay, robotics is not complicated. Just, everybody's like, oh my gosh, robots. How? It's not. It's setting them up. It's just not. They're pretty much, you got to tell it what to do. You're telling that robot what to do, and it's going to do it. But all they're going to teach you is how to set the points.
Mm-hmm.
How to tell that robot where you want it to go, and then it's just going to do it. And it's really not. It's not intimidating.
And it's going to use electronic actuators. It's going to use pneumatics. It's going to use whatever.
It's servo driven.
Yep,
robots.
servos.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got several different axes that robot is controlled by, and it's in a Cartesian coordinate. You're giving it these values. Go here. And that's what it's going to do.
Just like those Haas automated CNC machines. It's like you've got to program that G code or whatever it might be to tell the machine the tool path and everything like that, I would assume.
Yes.
So,
you got
very similar.
Set all that stuff up.
Yep.
Very similar.
I do some little woodworking, and I've got my eye on a CNC router that I really want, but it's that same kind of deal when you program it out and it does it. I've got a good friend he's going to be a guest coming up. That's got a packaging plant, and he's got robots that are dedicated to the glue bead for the styrofoam. Mm-hmm. Very precise, not wasting glue, gets exactly what they need. But people program those things. People repair those things, keep them running, those kind of things, and that's what we're doing.
We've got gluing systems in our plant as well for the packaging robots.
And Wisco obviously had probably a ton of gluing machines as well.
Yeah, they were tape.
Oh,
tape.
Tape.
Here's a tape machine.
Oh, nice.
Here's your handheld tape gun.
So like for the windows of an envelope, that clear.
Yeah, that's actually all mechanically driven.
Yep.
I mean, Great Lakes Cheese is a large company. I'm not sure how many they employ, but they're all over the
almost 3,400 people nationwide, and we're growing.
Well, and I was trying to follow through on. I saw the processing plants. They talked about your plants, and then the conversion plant. I wasn't sure, but you're talking about how it processes the big the
Blocks.
supply of cheese,
blocks
big
of cheese
and stuff. How long did you work there before you got the promotion to supervisor?
I started at Great Lakes Cheese 2015. So before the doors of the plant even opened, they brought maintenance in so we could, learn, help with the installs, learn the equipment. So I've been there since day one.
Day one, yeah. So what's a day in the life for the supervisor like? You said it's a different, you're used to doing you're doing the other part, and you got to know the other part to really supervise it. And make it.
And so now what I work real close with production and the maintenance techs. So we just prioritize. We have lines, some lines running bars, slice. We've got orders that got to get out. I'm looking more at prioritizing which lines have to run if they go down. And if I've got guys working on, let's say I've got guys working on such and such line, but this line goes down and this line is higher priority, it's moving people around, taking care of the day-to-day process, making sure we've got parts, getting parts ordered, making sure the guys are taking their breaks, getting their lunch, not taking long breaks, doing all that, So it's really more people-oriented, but at the same time, I still, the knowledge I have of the machine is super helpful for what I'm doing.
Right.
Because I know about how long it's going to take to do this repair, or should take to do this repair.
Right.
And so I've got people ask me, hey, this happened. How long should this take? Well, this should take an hour. This should take a couple hours. Oh, this is a 15-minute job. So it's similar, but quite different.
Yep.
Right. But it sounds like you got the same machines, but it sounds like something new every day too, kind of thing. I mean, you've got a lot.
We see same problem, almost every day, but every day there is a new problem. Something else finds a way to break.
And I'm sure sometimes you try to get in front of it with preventative maintenance.
We do a lot when the machines are down on the weekends or like during a holiday. We'll go in, do a lot of preventative maintenance with the machines as well, trying to prevent that breakdown.
Yeah.
But even
because that breakdown could cost you a lot of money if you have
it costs quite a bit a minute.
Yeah,
quite a lot of money a minute. Sure. So there's always a push, get them up. And if sometimes we don't have the right parts, it's our job to figure out what parts we can put together to make this machine go. So you kind of invent some stuff.
Yeah.
You get creative.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That sounds fun.
They keep you on your toes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It does. It keeps you going, keeps you thinking. I enjoy it.
You're a professional problem solver.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Even as a tech or even as a supervisor. I mean,
a maintenance tech is really just a specialized mechanic.
Yep.
And I guess specialized isn't really the word. You're a mechanic because you're not specialized in one thing.
You could be that jack of all trades we talked about.
You've got to work on air cylinders. You've got to look at electrical schematics. You've got to troubleshoot these machines, and none of that machinery is the same. We have a couple lines that are the same, but there's
a lot of engineering
20, 30 different types of machines. There's robotics. There's all different type of stuff in there, and you've got to be able to work on all of it and diagnose all of it.
Wow.
Well, and I noticed on the website I was talking about state of the art. I'm sure the machinery and everything changes relatively. There's some things that won't, but there's new technologies coming out all the time, right?
Yeah, we haven't seen it yet because we're a fairly new plant, but they will rotate machinery out as the latest and the greatest
automation.
Comes out. And our plant is heavily automated.
Really,
the less you have to touch food, the better off you are. That's just.
Well, you see so many times on these these car commercials where these robots are assembling these Chevys and Fords and everything like that, and you don't see as many humans on these traditional assembly lines because a robot can come in and do a spot weld and that can speed up a process. They can push out more cars, but you obviously have to have the people to program those robots and automation or whatever you want to call it. But
and you talked about it. I mean, one thing working with cars, we're talking about food and the quality. Nothing can mess up a reputation of a food provider than bad food.
Cleanliness,
right?
Because like right now, manufacturing is going towards what they call lean manufacturing. You want fewer people in the plants, so that means you're going to be more heavily automated. Those robots don't run forever. You need somebody that can fix those robots.
Fix, you name it.
Yep. Program
and that's
them,
the thing.
Set them up.
No, I think you're bringing up a good point too, because a lot of folks think about, I want to make some money. And automatically they start thinking about doctor, lawyer, professions, those kind of things. people are making really good money coming out of the tech schools and doing lots of different things. Industrial maintenance, I've been hearing a lot about that as well. There's in demand for these fields.
Yeah.
We've had some subcontractors in our plant, and I was friends with one of them. They were welders, and they made very, very, very good money.
Yep.
So, they got new trucks every couple of years. They lived in nice travel trailers. Now that's a job that they're going to travel a lot.
Yes.
And they're away from their families quite a bit, but they had the latest and greatest and best of everything that came out. They were not hurting. They made a very good living, but
that's hard work.
Welding is a very skilled trade, and if you are good at it, you can pretty much name your price.
It can be very physically demanding too.
The same thing is like machining.
That's
You're
right.
a machinist, setting up CNCs. If you're good at it, you can pretty much tell them what you want.
Hot commodity. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's interesting too when the you said hard job, but man, if it's something you love to do,
Sure.
The welders I've talked to, they kind of almost see it as an art. I mean, they're like, they're proud of that bead that they're running. They're proud of what they can fix. And again, the salaries coming out of here, I'm hearing them and thinking I went in the wrong field. I mean, honestly, there's some folks making some good money out.
Well, one thing I can tell you is I actually make less now as a supervisor than I did as a tech because I'm now salary. And as a tech, I was hourly, and I could work overtime as much as I wanted.
Overtime's a wonderful thing, really.
It is. It is a great thing. You only think that when you don't get it anymore.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
I love that time and a half.
Yep.
So, and when you were traveling, you probably got a lot of overtime.
Yep.
Probably.
Got
Or mileage. Yeah.
Yep. Time for travel, all that.
Wow.
It does keep you away from your family, though. At least with a salary position and not working overtime, you're there with the family. And
I'm still working overtime. I just don't get paid for it.
oh well, never mind.
That's the difference with salary.
Yeah,
that's right. My son just got a salaried position. He was talking about that very same thing. So anyway,
but there are different benefits to it.
That's right.
Yep.
No, absolutely right. Now, maybe catch you off guard a little bit. You're now supervisor. Where does that? What is there a career path past that? Or have you thought about yourself in 4 or 5 years from now?
I know our maintenance manager, which would be the step above me, maybe at that point, or maybe at the point we're at now with this company, they're opening new plants. They're continuing to grow. So maybe that someday maybe I want to go somewhere else. That is always an option to me, or I could move to one of the existing plants as well.
That is another thing to think about with the companies you're working for. Sometimes they're very local, but sometimes you have opportunities to move around like that, and that's a good thing.
You can be a plant manager at a new plant.
I don't know if I want to be a plant manager.
No, but what I'm saying is,
much.
but that might be your personal decision. But someone like you in your position could be that aspiration of being a plant manager. And if something opens up,
in the company I'm in,
there's pathways to do it.
Yep,
there's always a pathway to do it. Yep.
Now, what do you know now that you would tell your younger self? That kid that was coming out of high school, going to college, didn't really know what he wants to do.
Save your money. Don't spend it on CDs. They'll go away.
CDs, Greg. Don't date yourself.
I can't help it.
But I got to have that F-150, dude.
I've got that. I've still got that giant book of CDs that holds like 150.
Oh my gosh.
I do too.
It weighs like 30 pounds.
Yeah. I got this car. I got to put all this money into it. It doesn't matter. You're in high school right now. You're having a good time. Enjoy high school. Do not stress out. Don't put all that pressure on yourself and think, I've got to know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Don't worry what other people think, because in the long run, it does not matter. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if your car's got wheels or if the windows are tinted or if it's brand new or not. I mean, it may matter now, but in the real world,
no.
Tullahoma is a grain of sand on a beach.
Yep.
All right, and what people think here, it's not going to matter when you go to college, when you're mid-20s, late 30s. Yeah, the older I get, the more I realize what anybody thinks, it doesn't matter. As long as you're happy doing what you're doing, enjoy it. This is your life. Don't worry about what other people are doing or what they're saying, because, if you worry about what other people are saying, you let them control you and affect you, and don't let people do that. Mm-hmm. And just like I said, don't stress out. Enjoy this time.
Be honest with yourself.
You're young once. Let me tell you, I'm 39 years old, and I would give anything to be 18 again. Because
especially with our brain now.
Yeah.
No, that would, but that wouldn't be fair.
It wouldn't. No,
you wouldn't. Yeah, you got to have some screw ups.
Well, you've got to fall before you can, run and figure out how that works.
And every time you screw up, you're going to learn from it.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Whatever you do, if you go to college, you go to tech school, that's great. That's your decision. And if you decide, hey, this might not be for me, or this might be the wrong path, I think I made a mistake, change it. You've got time. We've
seen that time and time again with a lot of guests that we've had is I was headed this direction, didn't know if I loved it, or this other opportunity, presented itself. So I took it, or I wanted to go down this path. And so I took it.
No, and get something out of it. We're going to screw up. I mean, that's going to happen.
Make it worthwhile.
What are you going to get out of that experience?
Yeah,
you're not defined by the screw up. You're just defined by where you go from there.
Right? I don't care how hard you try. You're going to screw up. Yeah. Everybody does. Nobody is perfect. Just it's what are you going to take out of it? Are you going to learn from it? I hope you do, because if you don't, you're going to continue to make that same mistake.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So learn from it. Grow. Invest in yourself. That's the best thing you can do. Invest in yourself.
Yeah, and I think you're a good example of that. I mean, just talking about being able to pivot to that other story, and then jumping into something that you said, this sounds good. I don't know anything about it, but I'm gonna go for it.
Like I said, I didn't know
anything.
Day
one knew nothing. That's crazy.
Day one, not a thing except I could get electrocuted. And so now, and all those years, that 15 years I've been doing this every day, learn something.
Yeah.
I learn something new all the time.
It's not boring. It sounds like at all.
No. And I mean, several maintenance techs, this can progress. You can go back to school. You can get your mechanical engineering, your electrical engineering.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yep.
And it's just actually going to make you a better engineer because you understand the process.
Yep.
You get to see firsthand what you'll be creating.
Yep.
And it's just going to benefit you.
I have an uncle who started out working as a technology expert at a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was the tech guy. If the computers went down, or if there was a tech issue, he was that guy. And he worked his way up, and then he was on the board, and he did like consulting and was in charge of all the doctors. And he was like the guy for that. A few years ago, he was promoted to the admin of the hospital. Like he was the plant manager, but of this hospital. And he started out in the computer lab, in the computer room. So like, if you're good at what you do, you're a good communicator, you have all these great qualities that you pick up along the way, the sky's the limit if you work hard and you enjoy what you're doing.
Right.
I appreciate you coming. Anything else you want to share with us before we go?
Oh, I could go on and on and on. I don't think we have time for all that. I got stories and other things, but maybe another time.
Yeah.
We'll do that for another podcast.
Maybe we could do a part 2.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about that with other guests. We were like, yeah, come back. Well, we'll do a Greg Madsen part 2.
Yeah, and then we could dive deeper and, get into some more details about some of the stuff we see in this career field.
I would like to do it because that's really where we want to help our students see there's a path from here to there. And
there is.
And it's
not going to be a straight line.
No.
That's right.
It's going to take some turns.
Well, quite frankly, the cricket turns, it's kind of where you start learning some things.
Makes it interesting.
That's kind of a good thing sometimes.
Yep.
Man, I appreciate you being here.
Hey, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be here. I appreciate it.
We do very much appreciate it. For Mike Young, I am Michael Holliday, and we thank you for listening to this episode of Two Mics and a Guest.